playroom, no housekeeper bustling about. Just the faint tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. She set her purse down on the entry table with a soft thud and leaned against the door for a moment, closing her eyes. The judge's gavel still rang in her ears. The declaration of death is hereby rescinded. Ellen Wagstaff Arden is alive and restored to all legal rights and privileges. Simple words, but they had felt like a miracle. 5 years lost at sea, 5 years presumed gone forever, and now, officially, back. But back to what? Her mind wandered to the island, that speck of paradise turned prison. The endless blue horizon, the crash of waves that drowned out her sobs in the early days. Stephen, Adam, as she'd called him to protect his identity, had been her lifeline. A botanist, stranded like her, with his gentle humor and survival skills. They'd built a shelter from palm fronds, fished with handmade spears, shared stories under starlit skies. But always, in her heart, it was Nick she longed for. Nick, with his easy charm and that voice that could melt ice. Ellen walked slowly into the living room. The furniture was the same, yet different, new throw pillows in a shade of coral she would never have chosen, a modern abstract painting over the fireplace where a serene seascape used to hang. Signs of another woman's touch. She sank onto the sofa, kicking off her heels, and let her head fall back. The scent of Bianca's perfume lingered faintly in the air, a subtle reminder of the life that had filled this space in her absence. The doorbell chimed. Nick Arden stood on the threshold, hat in hand, looking every inch the charming architect who had once swept her off her feet. His tie was loosened, his expression unreadable. Behind him, the manicured lawn stretched out, dotted with rose bushes she'd planted years ago, now blooming wildly without her care. Ellen. Nick. She stepped aside. Come in. I suppose we should talk. He entered, glancing around as if seeing the house for the first time. The kids are with my mother for the afternoon. I thought, we might need some time alone. She nodded, leading him to the bar cart. Old habits. She poured 2 fingers of scotch for him, nothing for herself. She'd sworn off anything stronger after the island, where the only spirits were the fermented fruits that made her head spin. You look tired, she said, handing him the glass. I am. He accepted it but didn't drink. Bianca's filing for annulment. The marriage was never consummated, technically. Not after you came back. Ellen raised an eyebrow. Technically. Nick gave a short laugh, the sound without humor. He's a good woman, Ellen. She didn't sign up for this circus. We met at a charity gala, she was organizing it, all poise and efficiency. I thought she could help me forget. And did she? Ellen's voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed her dress. For a while. But then you showed up, tanned and alive, like a ghost from my best dreams. He set the glass down untouched. I thought you were gone. I mourned you. Held a memorial service on the beach where we honeymooned. The kids scattered flowers into the ocean. Then I tried to move on. And then you walked through that door like nothing had happened. Like nothing had happened. Her voice sharpened. I spent 5 years sleeping on sand, eating coconuts, talking to imaginary versions of you just to stay sane. I came home to find my husband remarried and my children calling another woman mother. Don't tell me nothing happened. Nick rubbed the back of his neck, his eyes dropping to the floor. I know. I know. And I'm sorry. But you weren't exactly alone out there, were you? Stephen Burkett. Adam. The name hung between them like smoke. Ellen flashed back to the day the plane had gone down, turbulence, screams, then the cold slap of water. Washing up on that deserted shore with Stephen, both dazed and grateful. He'd taught her to climb for fresh water, weave nets for fish. Nights by the fire, sharing regrets. But boundaries had been drawn early, no crossing lines that couldn't be uncrossed. Ellen crossed her arms. Stephen was a gentleman. We survived together. That's all. He respected that I was married, even if the world thought otherwise. Nick's jaw tightened. He looked at you like you hung the moon. And you looked back. I saw it when he came to the house, pretending to be some shoe salesman. I was lonely. Desperate. But I never betrayed you, Nick. Not once. She paused, her voice softening. On the island, I'd carve our initials into driftwood, tell stories about you to pass the time. Stephen listened, but he knew my heart was here. He studied her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled, the old, crooked, heart-melting smile that had made her fall in love with him all those years ago. You know, the shoe salesman you hired to play him? Worst actor I've ever seen. The man couldn't lie his way out of a paper bag. Stuttered through every line, kept glancing at his watch like he had a hot date with his loafers. Ellen couldn't help it, she laughed, the tension breaking like a wave. He was the best I could do on short notice. And he was terrified of you. Thought you'd punch him for looking at me twice. Good. Nick stepped closer. Because I was terrified of losing you again. When you vanished, it was like the color drained from the world. The kids asked about you every night. I'd make up stories. Mommy's on a big adventure, like in the movies. But inside, I was breaking. Ellen stood. She looked at Nick, really looked, and felt something shift inside her. The years apart had changed them, but the core remained. Stay for dinner, she said quietly. Just dinner. We'll see what happens after that. Nick nodded, his smile genuine this time. Dinner sounds perfect. I'll help set the table, like old times. As the sun dipped lower, painting the room in warm amber, the family gathered in the dining room. Laughter filled the air as Nick juggled oranges for the kids, Ellen tossing salad with fresh herbs from the garden. Stories flowed, Ellen shared tame tales from the island, building sandcastles bigger than houses, while Nick recounted funny mishaps from his architecture projects, like the time a client insisted on a rooftop pool shaped like a martini glass. After dinner, as the children nodded off in front of a flickering TV, Nick and Ellen sat on the porch swing, a blanket draped over their laps. The city lights twinkled below, a sea of stars on earth. I missed this, Nick said softly. Us. Talking about nothing and everything. Me too. Ellen leaned her head on his shoulder. But we can't ignore the rough parts. Therapy, maybe. For all of us. Whatever it takes. He kissed her forehead. I'm not letting go this time. The road ahead would be messy, full of awkward explanations and old jealousies and new beginnings. Bianca stopped by the next day to say goodbye, graceful as ever, hugging the children and wishing Ellen well. Stephen called from his new life in academia, offering closure, no hard feelings. Weeks turned to months. Family outings to the beach, where Ellen taught the kids to build proper sand forts. Nick's designs incorporating tropical motifs, inspired by her stories. Laughter replaced silence, love mended the cracks. And maybe, just maybe, something's gotta give, but this time, it gave in the right direction, blooming into a second chance. The room seemed to shrink around them. Ellen felt the familiar pull, the chemistry that had always crackled between them, even when everything else was falling apart. She remembered their first date, a picnic under the stars, Nick serenading her with a ukulele, his voice smooth as silk. How had they let it all slip away? I don't know if we can just pick up where we left off, she whispered, her hand brushing his arm. I don't either. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. His touch was gentle, tentative, sending a shiver down her spine. But I'd like to try. If you'll let me. We could start small, dates, like we're courting again. No pressure. She searched his face. The man she'd loved, the man she'd dreamed of on that endless beach. He was still there, beneath the guilt and the uncertainty. But scars ran deep. And Bianca? She won't just disappear. Nick sighed. She's packing now. We talked last night. She wants what's best for the kids, and for us. Said she always knew she was a placeholder. Before she could answer, the front door burst open. Two small whirlwinds, little Maggie and Timmy, raced in, cheeks flushed, trailed by Nick's mother, her silver hair pinned neatly, a basket of groceries in hand. "Mommy!" Maggie cried, launching herself at Ellen's legs. Timmy followed, clutching a drawing of a family, stick figures under a sunny sky, with an extra tall one labeled Mom. Ellen dropped to her knees, enveloping both children in her arms. Tears stung her eyes as they clung to her, babbling about school and ice cream and how Grandma let them stay up late to watch cartoons. Maggie's hair smelled of strawberries, Timmy's small hands sticky from candy. "Look what I made." Timmy thrust the drawing forward. "That's you, back from the ocean." Ellen's heart swelled. "It's beautiful, sweetie. We're all together now." Nick's mother hovered in the doorway, her eyes misty. "I'll just put these away," she murmured, slipping into the kitchen.